Hello, everyone. Welcome to the You Are Worthy Network. Hope everybody's having a wonderful start to your week so far. It's great to be with you again today. I'm excited about our guest. I'm going to introduce her to you in just a minute, but it's a great opportunity for me to remind you this Tuesday afternoon that your story is not over by a long shot. God is not done with your story by a long shot. So please, wherever you're at in this season of life, if it's not in the most encouraging place, if you're waiting on prayers to be answered, if you're discouraged, please be encouraged that God's not done by a long shot. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my friend DeAnna, and then she'll be able to tell us a lot more about herself, obviously. Um, Rising from trauma to triumph, DeAnna Keith knows what it means to choose healing over hurt and resilience over retreat. She shares that same courage with others, helping them uncover their worth and walk boldly into freedom. She captured her journey and process in her book, Choice Maker: Find Your Voice, Shape Your Life, and continues her work through DeAnna Keith, LLC. For more than 30 years, DeAnna has led in different spaces as a women's director, a children's director, and in leadership roles that have given her a front row seat to what it means to grow, serve, and inspire. Beyond leadership, she's a third-degree black belt in Taekwondo, teaching all ages in her community to be strong in mind, body, and spirit. Her story is one of resilience: a sexual assault survivor, stroke survivor, and survivor of spiritual abuse. DeAnna has learned firsthand what it means to rise again and again. She often says, I don't show women how to heal, but I do show them that they can choose to heal. Known as a perspective coach, she helps women quiet the noise, hear their own voice, and make brave choices that lead to healing and freedom. DeAnna is also part of the Maxwell Leadership Certified team and serves as a facilitator specialist with Global Priority Solutions, where she teaches leadership values and principles to companies, groups, and teams. She loves hosting workshops, retreats, coaching sessions where people can step into growth and walk away with tools for life. At the heart of it all, DeAnna is a wife to her high school sweetheart Stan and mom to their son Nicholas. Family is her anchor, and everything she teaches come from the values she lives out every single day. DeAnna, welcome to the You Are Worthy Network.
Thank you for having me. That was a great intro.
I'm going to tell you, I was impressed. Of course, I'd read it before. I was impressed with the intro. I was like, and I'm not messing with you as a third degree black belt in Taekwondo either. That's
Well,
impressive.
yes, most people don't assume that I am that. They think I'm just really fluffy, if that's the word I can use. And I don't know what that really means, but I like that it's unassuming.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. It sounds like you have your hand in a lot of different endeavors, and we'll get into a couple of those at least, I'm sure. The one of the blessings of this particular group is we've grown tremendously by God's favor, and we have people that will eventually watch this from all over the world. Tell us which part of the world you're from, and tell us a little bit. You told us about Stan and Nicholas in your bio. Tell us a little bit more about them.
Well, first of all, I'm right in the Midwest center, Kansas City, Missouri side. I'm an avid Kansas City Chiefs fan. Stan and I met when I was 17 and we started dating, and we've been together actually 38 years, married 33 years. We have a 23-year-old son, Nicholas, which I mentioned, and um, I have a very large family, extended family. If you can't tell, I'm Sicilian, so I have a very large family. I have approximately 72 first cousins on both sides of the family. My father's side was large, and my mother's side was
Wow.
large. So a lot of movement in this side of the world, I should say, with my family. But I grew up here in Kansas City, love the culture here, love the city. And I love everything that God has done for me through everything that I've been through. That's just a little bit about me personally. I have a little dog named Taco. I know it's not a little Italian name, but my son named him after his favorite food. So there's that.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, it's amazing when DeAnna and I got on a discovery call. I guess it was a couple of weeks ago. It's such a small world sometimes. It turns out that we are the same age, and I think we did graduate the same year, I believe.
We
Yeah,
did.
and grew up like 15 minutes apart from each other. So it's a crazy how small world it is sometimes.
True story.
Yeah. So I'm interested in a lot of what you're doing. Can you tell us exactly what a perspective coach does?
Yes, I get asked that a lot. Perspective changes everything. So, two people can go through the same thing and walk out with very different perspectives or views of what happened. But for me, it's the lens in which and through which I look through determines how I interpret my pain, what I'm going to do with it. And as a perspective coach, I help women see past the fog of the trauma and the pain and start looking for the clarity they can find within it. I remind them that the past does not define them, it just explains them. It just explains who they are. It doesn't define who they are. And then a shift in that perspective can open up the doors to hope and to healing. And it's often a step forward for them once they realize they can choose that. So I try to pull out different perspectives and look at everything from a different angle.
That's good. Would you say that gratitude plays a role in that?
Gratitude plays a huge role in that. I can kick and scream about all the things that happened to me, but when I look at it through the eyes of the Lord, I'm grateful that He carried that piece of the cross with me, and I got to share in that with Him. And I know that might be a hard concept for some, but for me, this is my journey and how I processed it. Now, remember, I've been processing this for 53 years. I will be 57 in 2 weeks. So I've had a long time to work through all these things, but I'm grateful. I've had a blessed life, even though there's pain in it, and gratitude for being able to experience the growth out of the pain is what I look at.
Yeah. Well, let us be the first to say happy early birthday too.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely. Um, yeah, and we'll get into here in a little bit, we'll get into a little bit about your past because it's truly a story of well, just you will hear clearly the power of the Lord in the story, and we'll learn more about your resiliency clearly when we do that. But I still wanna dig into what you do a little bit. So you're passionate about serving women. I think we read in your bio, you also head up retreats, is that correct?
Correct. I had for nonprofit church, corporate women's retreats or facilitating core values. I do workshops. I do masterminds just to help women, and there are some men that I work with as well. But that's what I do for a living. I help them gain clarity and confidence and discover what their core values are. Do you know why you're living the way you're living? What decisions are you making that are dear and near to your heart that rise that passion up within you so that you can serve yourself and others better? And that's what I do. I have a very not rigid schedule, but I do have a schedule of speaking engagements that I go and do, and then a schedule of workshops and masterminds that I do virtual and in person.
Tell us about one of your favorite talks you like to do from stage.
Oh, one of my favorite talks. Oh, this is going to be hard. Um, one of my favorite, okay, who you listen to matters, who you learn from matters. Your circle determines your future. And I know my dad used to say that all the time, and I would laugh at him. When he would say, "Oh, Dee, you better watch out who you hang around with, what you do." But for me, there was a change in my life right around the age of 38. And I decided, where am I going? Like, I didn't know where I was going. What was I doing? I talk about it in the book. And I decided from that moment on to choose who helped me grow, to choose who speaks life into me. I don't just let anybody speak life into me. I just don't let anybody criticize me. I have to have that mutual respect and ongoing choice of relationship. If that makes sense, that's one of my favorite talks, is have people evaluate and challenge them to look at, who are you in a circle, and then who is in your circle, because that will determine how you grow and how far you grow.
I actually love that. I say in one of my talks that I explain a little bit about what a healthy circle looks like. And you need some folks that are going to encourage you, some folks that are going to mentor you. You do need accountability, but it needs to be loving accountability. Somebody that's got your back and that wants the best for you and knows that, that they know your dreams and aspirations, and maybe the choices you're making aren't heading in that direction, and they can help you back on the right path. And if we have a critical if we tend to have a critical circle, a judgmental circle, a lack of love circle, then it's really not a circle at all. It's a cage, and we need to reform it. We need to kick some people out, so to speak.
Right. And when you do that, when you say kick some people out, you don't necessarily, I agree with you, you don't necessarily explain that to them like, "Hey, I'm kicking you out." But you make that decision, that conscious choice to know who you're aligned with. And I do a lot of talks about alignment. Alignment is key. If you go to a chiropractor and you have your back out, what does he do? He realigns you. And so every day I try to figure out, am I aligned with this project? Am I aligned with this group? Am I aligned with this conversation? And I love that you said what you said.
Well, yeah, it's true. We all need a healthy circle. We all need community,
Yes.
healthy community to get to the next level. And that circle does change as we
Yeah.
level up. There may be a couple people that go with you throughout it, and there may be some people, and I like the way you communicated it too. It's not a formal conversation you necessarily have to have with them. It's just things that naturally evolve over time. I know one of the other things that you and I have in common is we're both members of the John Maxwell Certified Leadership Team. Can you give us a couple of things that has done for you, as far as your community?
Yes. The first thing that it did for me was when I read the book, The 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth, and I talk about it in my book, that book changed my life, obviously next to the Bible. The law of awareness, I had lived my life just kind of existing and not investing. And once I grasped that law, the law of awareness that John talks about, and got involved in the community, I surrounded myself with the leaders, the masterminds, and for me, it changed the course of my life. Hence, it also gave me the courage to write my story. Even though I'd been speaking for years, I never spoke about the true DeAnna, the pieces of me that were kind of hidden. And so that team has, beyond a shadow of a doubt, the community in that group has changed me more than I can ever explain. I have no words for it.
Yeah, that's awesome. That I'm sure that expanded your circle when you joined several years ago in a good way.
Tremendously, tremendously. It expanded so much that I'm involved in different pockets and different circles within the team, but also you can call on anybody on the team and they would answer you according to the core values of purpose and intention. They would be able to answer you and help you and guide you. And that's what I love about that. So that was the team that I needed to help me grow.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so we're going to keep the book out there for a little longer. You've referenced it a couple of times, and I definitely want to come back to the book. Knowing a little bit about your story, I think people are really going to be impacted. I'm not sure specifically what you're going to share next, but I do want to ask you. So you've got this huge network of supporters. You're helping women, you're doing perspective coaching, you're heading up retreats, you're speaking on various stages. You've reached, God's really done an amazing thing with you,
Yes.
but it also didn't come easy. It also came from a place of really, I would say darkness would be fair, and wilderness season would probably be an understatement. Can you tell us about a time where things weren't so worthy for you? Or let me take that back. You were worthy then, but it probably didn't feel like it when you were going through it, right?
Right. Wow. That's loaded. So I'm going to try to compartmentalize this. I referenced the age of 38. My son was um, 4 years old. I resigned from a job I had for 17 years, loved it. I just didn't know where I was going. You talk about the wilderness, and the one thing the Lord showed me is He still feeds the animals in the wilderness. So He still fed me, but He fed me while I was alone. And solitude brings clarity if you let it. And I took myself to a place, and I talk about this. I I had friends depart from me. I had the church family no longer existed for me. The people I had grown with the 17 years. There was a lot of separation that wasn't necessarily happening because of me, but the Lord put me in a place of solitude so that I can gain clarity completely with Him. And in the wilderness, I learned that the waiting room provides time to create options for my life. And if you choose to have solitude, then you're choosing to let clarity rise up. You're choosing to let it show you the places you need to be, the people you need to pursue, the options you have for your future. And I know that might sound kind of strange, but for me, it was very dark. I lost my job, my benefits, my community, friends,
Mm.
ministry. I was a women's director and leadership for 17 years there, and that was hard. Then you walk away and you're like, what am I? Who am I now without these things attached? And then I decided I was going to find out who DeAnna Keith really was. And that's when the Lord took me all the way back to my childhood trauma because I never felt worthy my entire life. And I'll just say this briefly. At the age of 3, I experienced my first sexual assault. I have memories about it. I talked to my mom then, and my mom tried to fix it, but she didn't. I mean, it didn't happen the way that she thought. She thought she had fixed it. I should say it that way. So then you fast forward, and I'm 23 years old, and it hits me what I had been hiding all those years. And you want to talk about a nosedive into pain and wilderness when rejection from your own family comes up. Who do you turn to?
Mhm.
The Lord stepped in. And my husband was my boyfriend at the time. He's the one that introduced me to the Lord, and he's the one that got me into counseling. He's the one that sent me to John Maxwell. He's the one that has walked through my life with me. And somebody asked him, "Are you going to read the book?" He's like, "No, I've lived it. I don't need to read it." But I don't know if I'm explaining it well enough, but I do know this. I think who you listen to is a preview of the future you. And I decided to listen to the man that led me to the Lord, which was my husband, the man who walked through life with me. Um, and I chose to surrender to God, and I left the results up to Him. But I had to choose to walk through the pain of the wilderness, and I had to go all the way back for me to go forward.
Yeah, I mean, your
And I know that was a
stories.
lot. I know that was a
No,
lot.
no, it's good. First of all, I want to say I'm sorry for what you went through. Um, and I really mean that. And then there's the other side of my heart that also knows, as a believer, that you're a more mature, wiser, compassionate, empathetic person because you've went through. Like, I've met the DeAnna now that was forged
Yeah.
out of those dark days. So I'm sorry it happened to you, but I'm grateful for what God formed you into. Does that make sense?
It does. Thank you. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. I kind of look at it. I had to shift my thinking, and this is just a process that I had to go through. Not everybody's there yet, but it didn't happen to me. It happened for me. It happened for me and the Lord to walk through, write our story. This isn't my story, it's our story, mine and the Lord's, um, and figure out who I am in the Lord. So it's a struggle for some that are new to maybe walking through their journey to understand that statement. But I truly believe that for me, when Christ died on the cross, and this is a little bit deep, I knew that he had experienced what I was going through. I knew that when I got saved. And so for me, that was settled. And so then I thought if he did that for me and understood what I was going through, he would walk this with me.
Yeah, I caught the perspective coaching in there. Not to me, for me, and I love that. I love that shift because it's so true. Because God is for us, and so that definitely centers it back on that. And I've been through, and certainly this isn't a comparison whatsoever, but I have found in my wilderness seasons that gratitude helps me get through it, and also that how do I want to articulate this? Well, Psalm 23 says, He makes me lie down next to still waters. Think about that for a minute. He knows that we're not very good at volunteering to do that. So he puts us in situations, not talking about yours per se, but he in general, he puts us in situations where we have no choice but to either run further from him or call out to him. And I remember what I was going to say. I remember going through some journeys that were just tremendously hard. And on the other side of it, people were like, "Oh, you were so faithful through that journey," which, may have been 3 years, 5 years. I mean, those that know my story, my wife and our story, we had a long 5-year journey with 6 failed adoptions and a 5-year journey to praying for just one kid. And God gave us three at one time. And it's like people were like praising us for our faithfulness. And I was like, no, give that to God because we were like this
Yeah.
during that 5 years. But He was faithful, just like He was faithful for you in your darkest hour.
Yeah. Yeah. I get it.
So, yeah. Okay, so we've teased the book a little bit, and why don't you? I think your screen's going to be able to show it better than mine because I have the virtual background. But can you show us a copy of your book and tell us about the book?
Sure. Can you see that?
Ah, perfectly.
Yeah. Choice maker. And there's a lovely woman on the front. And the puzzle pieces within the page, I purposefully put those in there and the negative words falling away, like stuck, broken, fear, hopeless. Um, I am not broken, I'm being built. And that's my perspective. So walking through those things, I'm not broken because you feel broken, you feel unworthy, you feel stuck. I'm not unstuck, I'm just not there yet.
Mm.
The words on the inside are unbreakable, perseverance, unstoppable. I feel like now in I say my elder age, over 50, I'm unstoppable because I have a better understanding of who I am and what I'm to do with the things that I have endured and walked through. So the book is, why did I say find your voice and shape your life? Well, when you have a very large family, and not just that, you can have a small family as well, but for me, you're silent, you were silenced a lot, seen and not heard and that sort of thing. But the thing that I needed most was to be heard about what was happening to me. And that didn't happen until later on in life. And then when it did, this is where I get kind of emotional. God showed me it didn't matter that you may not have been believed or may not have been heard. I heard you and I believed you, and I put you in the circle of people to help you walk through your journey. So I start in the book. I very raw in the beginning. I don't tell details per se, but I do share some things that happened, what shaped me, and where it started taking off. in life, and I cataloged 3 different incidents where it kind of shaped me. But then I weave my life in and out through the book where I came up with the perspective so that you too can do that for yourself. But I don't have your journey. So, but how I cataloged it will help you maybe catalog yours and come up with perspectives that you need. So one of the perspectives that I have is, and this is a cliche thing, but it hit me, is define the moment, don't let the moment define me. So yes, this is what happened to me. This is what I took from it. This is how my childhood ended up from it, but I didn't have a lot of control as a child. I didn't have control when I had a stroke. I didn't have control really for the outcomes of some of those things, but I can control how I respond to them and how I can use them to help other people alongside while I'm growing and learning myself. So I don't know if I'm explaining that well, but my book is I wrote it for impact, not to make millions, because I've been asked, why is it not on Amazon? Because Amazon's a great warehouse, but I don't have the ability to collect the information for the readers who may want to connect with me. And that's why I have it on my website at DeAnnaKeith.com. So with that being said, Choice Maker. Choice Maker has been a thread throughout all the seasons of my life. I couldn't control, like I said, being a survivor of sexual assault, a stroke, or even spiritual abuse, but I can control how I responded. I realized that healing doesn't happen to us, but for us through the choices that we make to pursue that. And sometimes that's the hardest decision, but it's the bravest decision you can make. Um, I think reclaiming your voice is the beginning of your power. And I believe it's reclaiming the life that God wants for you. He gave you free will, so you actually have the free will to decide what you will say, do, think, and be in this world to yourself and to other people.
Reclaiming your voice is the beginning of power. I love that.
Yeah.
You know that. So we'll include this in the description after the interview, but let me make sure I've got it right. So the book can be found at DeAnnaKeith.com, correct?
Correct.
I would encourage you guys, if you're looking for the next book to read, to grab a copy. I was telling DeAnna before the show that I'm wrapping up a book right now, and historically, I'm a avid reader, and things have really picked up here as of late. So I'm not getting to read quite as much, and I'm getting a little more picky about what I read. But I also know you won't be able to see it as well on my. Well, yeah, I guess you can see it okay. I've got my copy, and she includes a nice bookmark with it, and I've read a few pages. I haven't gotten very far yet, but I've flipped through it, and there's lots of inspiring and encouraging quotes throughout the book that were penned from DeAnna, their original quotes. And just what I've read so far, it's very, very inspiring, and it will challenge you in a good way to change your perspective. No surprise, right? On some things in life, and your story is just remarkable, and I'm just really moved by what I've heard. What's next? More of the same? Something new coming?
What's next? I'm hosting a webinar on October 14th, and I will jump into the workshops that choice maker workshops. How do I become a choice maker for my life? And I think just so there's no confusion, my whole book is not necessarily about sexual assault survivors. It's just my story. I've had many people read it that have had different types of traumas that have come back to me and said, I want to be in your workshop. This is what I took from that perspective, or this is what shifted for me. So workshops are coming up. October 14th is a webinar, and I start the 4-week workshop then. And then in 2026, my schedule is fairly balanced, I'll say that, with workshops and speaking engagements. And so that's what's next for me. I'm also working on a second book, but first of all, I'm just trying to get going on Choice Maker and helping people learn that they can do that on their own.
Wow, I love all of that. So Choice Maker just came out this year, correct?
Correct. And it just came out of me writing my story. That I
Wow.
realized, I've always been a choice maker, but didn't really understand it until I started diving in and seeing the places in my life where I made a purposeful, intentional choice that served the life that God gave me and served Him back. I'm not perfect, okay? I'm not perfect by any means. Um, but I try to pull the best, most biblical, godly, positive perspective I can get that helps me live better and be better. That's what I try to do.
Yeah. I love that. As we get ready to wrap it up here, DeAnna, what words of wisdom would you leave the viewers today? What words of encouragement would you share?
I would share that getting inspired to dive into who you are, your story, maybe the things that make you you might be somewhat scary. That just requires a moment. But remaining inspired requires you to have a plan for your life. And that only unfolds as you start walking through your journey.
Can you say that one more time? That was really, really good.
Okay. Getting inspired to walk through your journey, figure out who you are requires a moment, like a light bulb moment. All right. That's it. But remaining inspired requires you to have a plan, investigate a plan for you. And that's where the work happens to find out who you are.
Wow, that's so wise. I'm really grateful for you and your willingness to share your story so vulnerably. And I'm also inspired by your heart to give back to so many. You're a remarkable human being, and I'm grateful to know you. And I know that your story has touched the viewers today. Thank you for being with us, DeAnna.
Thank you for having me. I'm grateful for the opportunity.
Absolutely. Guys, you just heard a remarkable story, and God was not done with DeAnna's story, not even in the darkest days that she didn't even have time to go into. But God was with her, and He was not done with her, and He's still not done with her. So be encouraged that wherever you're at on the journey, your story's not over yet. And you are most definitely worthy of love,
Mhm.
respect, and success. Appreciate every one of you. Thank you for tuning in. Have a great afternoon. God bless.
Thank you.